Some stories don't just begin. They crash into your life with the force of betrayal, anger, and finally, redemption. When I first returned to my late father's old cabin, nestled deep in the mountain ridge that had been in our family for generations, expected peace. The kind of peace only the whisper of tall pines and the echo of a stream can bring. But instead, I was greeted by a woman with cold eyes and a sharper tongue, who called herself the head of the HOA. She stormed up my driveway, waving papers, barking demands, and ordering me off what she claimed was their community property. I stood there in disbelief, clutching the old brass key my father left me, wondering how this stranger dared to claim what my family had bled, worked, and sacrificed for. What she didn't know, what no one in her smug HOA circle knew, was that I didn't just own the cabin. I owned the entire ridge, the mountain itself, and that truth would break her world apart. The first time I laid eyes on the cabin after 20 years, it looked tired but dignified. Weather-beaten logs, a sagging porch, and shutters clinging to rusted hinges. Yet it was home. My father had built this place with his own hands. I could almost see him, hammer in one hand, cigarette dangling from his lips, sweat on his brow. My mother's laughter seemed to float between the pines. Memories. Heavy, yet comforting. I parked my truck, stepped out, and took a deep breath of mountain air. It was like inhaling the past. But before I could take 2 steps, a sharp voice cut through the silence. "Hey, you can't park here." I turned to see a woman in her late 50s, perfectly pressed blouse, clipboard tucked under her arm. She had the kind of expression that screamed authority where none existed. "This is private property," I said firmly. "Exactly," she snapped. "This land belongs to the Mountain View HOA. You're trespassing." I couldn't help but laugh. "Ma'am, this is my cabin. My family's land." She crossed her arms. "Not anymore. We've managed this community for years. You'll need to attend a meeting, pay dues, and follow our rules. Or leave." Her arrogance stung. The audacity of someone telling me to leave my own father's land, it was almost too much. But instead of fighting, I bit my tongue and walked inside, because I knew something she didn't. Something that would soon tear her false crown off her head. The very next morning, I was woken not by bird song, but by the sound of hammering outside. I rushed out to find a crew erecting a garish HOA-approved community sign right at the end of my driveway. "What the hell is this?" I demanded. Karen - yes, her name was really Karen — was there, supervising like a queen on her throne. "Community property, community sign," she said smugly. "You'll thank us later." "This isn't community property," I snapped. "This is my land. Remove it now," she smirked, flipping her clipboard. "Not according to our maps." That's when I pulled out the deed. A heavy leather-bound folder, preserved by my father's careful hands. I flipped to the page that mattered most, the one with the survey lines. "This deed says otherwise. I own this cabin, the creek, and the entire ridge up to 5 miles in every direction, including the spot you're standing on." For the first time, Karen's confident mask cracked. Her lips trembled. But she quickly recovered. "These old documents mean nothing. Times change. You'll fall in line or face legal action." I stared at her, heart pounding with both anger and sorrow. My father had warned me about people like her. People who believed rules were more important than respect. "You've made a mistake," I told her quietly. "A big one." Karen didn't back down. Over the next week, she waged war. HOA violation notices appeared on my porch. Illegal fire pit. Unapproved fence, unregistered vehicle. One afternoon, I found my truck booted. Another day, they tried chaining the gate to my own driveway. The anger inside me grew. But with it came something deeper: sadness. These mountains had been my safe place, my family's legacy, and now they were tainted by greed and arrogance. One evening, I sat by the cabin fire, staring at the flickering logs. My father's words echoed, "Land isn't just dirt, son. It's memory. It's blood. It's a promise." I closed my eyes and whispered, "I won't let them take this from us." Dad, the next morning, I drove to the county office. Hours of digging through records proved what I already knew. The deed was ironclad. Karen's HOA had no claim to anything. In fact, they had been illegally expanding their community boundaries for years. With documents in hand, I returned. This time, I wasn't just the son of a mountain man. I was the rightful owner with the law on my side. I called a meeting. The HOA board showed up, smug and ready to argue. Karen sat at the head like a queen, glaring at me. I spread the documents on the table. These are the original, uncontested deeds. This land doesn't belong to your HOA. It belongs to me. Every ridge, every stream, every tree, you've been trespassing. And if you don't stop, I'll take this to court. Gasps filled the room. Board members shifted uncomfortably. Karen's face flushed crimson. You can't do this. She shouted. We built this community. We made it safe. You built on lies, I said firmly, and it ends now. Word spread fast. Some residents came to me in private, apologizing. They had trusted Karen. They believed her when she claimed the HOA owned the ridge. One elderly couple even wept, saying they remembered my father patrolling the land, fixing fences, and letting neighbors fish in the stream without ever asking for a dime. Karen, however, doubled down. She marched up to my cabin one last time, eyes blazing. You think you've won? This is bigger than you. People depend on me. Without me, there's no order here. I stepped off the porch, meeting her gaze. No, Karen, without you, there's finally peace. For the first time, she faltered. Her voice cracked. I just wanted respect. I wanted to matter. And in that moment, anger gave way to something else, pity. She wasn't just a tyrant. She was a lonely woman, clinging to control. I'll tell you something my father told me, I said softly. Respect isn't taken. It's given, and it starts with kindness. Her eyes watered. She turned and walked away without another word. I stayed in the cabin that night, staring out over the ridge. The mountains were silent again, the way they were meant to be. Karen's HOA crumbled within weeks. Without her iron grip, neighbors stopped fighting. Some even came together to repair old trails and plant trees. I realized then that this land wasn't just mine. It was a bridge between the past and the future. A reminder that greed fades, but legacy endures. Before I left for town, I carved a message into the old porch beam my father once leaned against. Land remembers the hands that love it. That's what I want you to remember too. Maybe you faced someone like Karen, someone who tried to take what wasn't theirs, someone who mistook control for respect. If so, share your story in the comments. Because stories like these aren't just about land. They're about us. About holding on to what matters most, even when others try to tear it away. And sometimes, the greatest victory isn't in crushing your enemy, but in proving that kindness, patience, and truth will always outlast arrogance. The mountain ridge still stands. And so do I. This story is just the beginning. There is so much more ahead. Subscribe to the channel to join me on this journey. *.